Hi folks, I hope you're doing well. Today we have a new lens to introduce. This is the Sigma 23mm f1.4 contemporary lens, and this is the same lens that they already have out in Sony E-mount and for the L-mount series, but now it's available in the Fuji X-mount. Now this is a really popular focal length because it gets you to the equivalent of around 35mm once you take the APSC crop factor into account. So to compare it, I brought along Fuji's own 35mm f1.4, so we can, it's not a 35, it's a 23, but equivalent 35-ish. You're with me still. So that we can compare them both side by side and see which one is going to be best for your shooting needs. Let's run through the specs real quick. The Sigma has 13 elements in 10 groups, including 3 special low dispersion elements and 2 aspherical elements. 9 rounded aperture blades. It'll focus down to 25 centimeters. It's weighing in at 335 grams. The Fuji, on the other hand, is 15 elements in 10 groups, also has 9 rounded aperture blades, has a larger 58mm front filter thread. It's 10% heavier at 375 grams. On the plus side, it can focus significantly closer down to 19 centimeters compared to 25 on the Sigma. Note though, the Sigma is about 50% more expensive than the Sigma at $899 US. So let's head out, do some street and architecture and portrait type photography with the Fuji X-T4 and see how they compare. Now I've got to say, it's been a little while since I shot with the X-T4 and it is a really enjoyable system to work with. Shooting with Jody was really fun. Both of the lenses were doing well within the range of what I expect from the X range of cameras in terms of focus, responsiveness, and their stability in tracking a moving subject. This was a new location for us to shoot in, a cool little semi-rooftop with the colored buildings in the background. Nice for checking the depth of field and the kind of blur we're getting. Make sure you check out the sample files below. If you're a GFX shooter as well as a Fuji X shooter, check out my brand new GFX setup guide. It covers every single camera in the system and shows you every physical control on every camera, how to initially set them up, and a complete menu deep dive that shows every single customization and option these complex cameras have to offer. Details are in the description below. Next up, we headed to this cool overpass, which I'd shot before a while ago with a couple of models, that gives great leading lines, and I think will work really well with this focal length. So look, so far we've shot with them both for most of the day now, and there's generally times where I lose track of which one I'm shooting because the experience of getting focus, keeping focus, all of that, it's really, really similar. The main difference is that the Fuji's own has the built-in aperture ring and this one doesn't, and the styling. And I have to say, overall, I actually prefer the styling and the manual focus override on the Sigma. So today we've come into the M Plus Museum in Hong Kong, a modern art museum with great architecture. I think it could be a great place to test out the 23mm lenses. We brought Felicia along, who's currently downstairs, and I'm going to try and find interesting shots through the little pools of light and angles of the architecture where we can make use of these, relatively wide-angle lenses. That's great. Okay, so the challenge here is, whilst photography is allowed, I don't want to make a big scene about it. So I don't want to be yelling at her, so I need to kind of gesture how I want her to pose without making a big issue of it. So this is the first time testing this lens where I've found it's missing focus here and there. It's still not that much. It's less than like I was finding on that 80mm medium format lens. But the Sigma has missed a couple of times here where the Fuji didn't. But throughout the other days of testing, I really haven't found any difference. And to be fair, the wind is blowing her hair in front of her eye a lot. So look folks, we've been testing with the two of the lenses for a couple of days now. As I said at the start of day one, overall I actually prefer the handling and ergonomics of the Sigma, but in terms of the experience of using them, very little difference. I would say occasionally the Sigma lost focus when the Fuji didn't, but most of the time, if one of them struggled, they both did. So let's say out of 500 shots, maybe the Fuji missed focus 10 and the Sigma 12. It was kind of insignificant, but slightly more. It's all ultimately going to come down to the image quality because there is a significant price saving on this guy, as well as a little bit smaller and a smaller front filter thread. So let's head back in studio and check out the files. I'll give you some you can download there as well. Okay folks, so I've really genuinely enjoyed shooting with this kit over the past week. The 23mm focal length on APS-C worked out great, especially for the museum shoot. If I'm doing kind of more classic street, then I prefer a little wider, but all of this is personal preference. We're here to compare the two lenses. So I have selected out a bunch of different images taken with the two different lenses, had a good pixel peep at them. To be honest, you're not going to see full detail through all of the YouTube compression, so I'm not going to do an A to B comparison here. Rather than that, I'll give you download raw files that you can check out for yourself from each of the lenses and you can make your own determination. My opinion looking at them is wide open. I think the Fuji has a slight advantage. By f2, it's equalized. So if you're going to be shooting wide open and you want the absolute best, then I do think the Fuji has an edge, but it's really quite close. I think the biggest difference between the two is the styling. So with the Fuji having the tactile aperturing on here, I know a lot of Fuji shooters who absolutely love that about their cameras and would, I think, miss having that. They might want all of their lenses to have the same experience rather than using, the Sigma that doesn't have that, and then you need to use your front command dial like other brands of cameras to adjust your aperture. It's really going to come down to you, what your budget is and how you like to interact with it. I personally really like the Sigma, and if I were going to buy one for myself for an APS-C X camera, I think I would go with the Sigma. With the price savings, and I actually really like the styling of it, then for me it is a winner. But the Fuji is still fantastic, and it has what a lot of Fuji shooters want, that kind of aesthetic that matches the whole system. In terms of system, if you're also thinking about stepping up to the big brother, the GFX range, or maybe you already have, it's actually startling how similar these two are in terms of their look. It's just kind of a jumbo version. This one's spent more time at the gym. Do check out my new GFX setup guide. It takes you through every camera in the GFX medium format range, from the original 50S and 50R all the way through to the latest one, the 100S, and as new models are added, like the rumored 100 Mark II that's meant to come soon, they will be added as a free update as well. It shows you every single physical control on each of the cameras and what they do, then takes you through an initial setup guide for each camera, what you want to think about customizing from the outset, as well as a complete menu deep dive that takes you through every single option in the camera system. Now, these cameras are hugely customizable. You can get a lot out of them and tailor them to your style of shooting if you spend the time to set them up right. So check that one out. It is in the description below. Also below will be links to the equipment we used in this video. Big thanks to Sigma for letting me check this one out early, and to FujiFilm Hong Kong for sending me out the X-T4 and their 23mm to do the comparison. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave me any questions or comments, and I'll see you soon.